How long have you guys been doing Cosmo?
Mario, you're a barber?
I'm a barber. We're going to go ahead and start the haircut. He gets a Foux Howk, and we're going to taper out the back neckline. Walter doesn't like the side of his Foux Howk to be too dark, so we're actually going to hit it with a 2-clip. It's a metal clip. It cuts a little bit closer as opposed to the plastic guards. There's the difference, and these are a lot more accurate because when you put a plastic guard on a traditional motorized adjustable clipper that moves up and down, the blade that's moving is on the actual clipper, so the guard just sits on top. When you use a metal clip, the whole blade moves itself. And these are a lot stronger too, so if you're having somebody that let their hair grow for 10 years and then they decide that they want to go down to a size 3 all of a sudden, you definitely want to have a detachable metal guard. What we're going to do is we're going to actually just cut straight up. We're not going to worry about leaving a hard line at all. You see here. Now when we get to the back, instead of cutting this way, we're going to cut kind of at an angle. And this is actually going to start blending in the hair by itself. The only difference between a Foux Howk and a mohawk is that there's no hard line. So you just have to make sure that you're in control the whole time. Now you just go over everything you just cut, just make sure it's nice and even. Already done. You already blended it in. I'm sorry, and I forgot to mention that before you start a haircut, just like I'm assuming you would do with women's hair, you always make sure you want to comb it all out, because that'll just ensure that your machines won't get stuck as you're cutting the hair. Again, you being the professional, you could always suggest if they say, I want my Foux Howk to be really thin, but you know, with their particular head shape, you're like, you know what, oh, okay, that's cool, but why don't we start a little wider? Because I could always bring it in, but I can't bring it back out. Just like, I'm sure if you get a client, they said, I want to chop half the length of my hair off, you could always say, well, we'll start by chopping, you know, an inch or two, and then we'll go from there. So when it comes to tapering out the neckline, you want it to get the hair as close as True Zero, which is ball. I use a Ball Hero, which is it's a really powerful trimmer. Just gonna make our first line. Always want to make sure to have a comb or a brush in your hand and brush out any hairs that happen to get in the way. So we start off by basically making our first hard line, and we're gonna blend that right in the rest of the hair. And what you could do to play it safe, because sometimes Hawks, and even I do this myself, if I'm in a rush or if I have clients waiting, you could start by actually making a line on the other side of the Foux Howk, because once you blend this completely in, it's going to be hard to determine where you made your first line at. Head. And you'll notice right now that these two levels are kind of off. It doesn't absolutely have to be perfect, because again, you're just going to create the blend effect. And one thing you do not want to do, you know, although you want them to be even, you never want to go into making your first bald line like straight in, because that's going to create a heavy line that's going to be almost impossible to take out. And these are metal guards, magnetic guards. What you do first, because now you created your zero guide, You want to go ahead and start by using your lever fully open, which turns it into a half, and you make your next guide. which will be this right here. And it doesn't look like much. It doesn't look like there's a big difference in between there. And you might think, oh, but I'm already going too high into the rest of the haircut. But once you actually hit the blend, it'll make a big difference. Do the same thing on the other side. And then your 1 guard or 1/8, and you always want to start by hitting the hard hairline open, which is guard all the way open, which is longer. Try to hit that line, try to see if it knocks it out. Then you could close it. And that's just going to blend that right into the rest of the hair. Nowadays, barbers have it a lot easier compared to barbers from 20-30 years ago because they made guards for the in-between sizes. So this is a 0 guard or a half guard. This guard with the blade fully closed is equivalent to the blade open. So I could go from half to 1 and everything right in between. So I'll start with just a little open. And right now, I'm just, any little bit of weight or heavy hairlines that I see, I'm just chopping right into it. Don't be scared. Use a lot of your corner work too, that helps get the detail. Now we're going to work on the bottom line. So what I do is I'm going to start with my blade fully closed. Open it halfway, just go a little higher than what I was originally cutting. And now you open it all the way, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do kind of like a raking motion, as opposed to cutting with the blade flat on the scalp. It's going to go like this, and it's going to just eliminate any extra little hairs. Now that's tapered compared to the other side. When you're doing your neckline, you want to make sure never to bring in the neckline too much, because when the hair starts to grow back out, you're going to see all that stubble grow back in. So you want to keep it as natural as possible, but at the same time clean it up. And then you basically just repeat the same steps for the other side. I was just repeating the steps because I didn't want to take too long. And you do the same thing. Just hit the neckline.
What kind of clippers are they?
These are wall clippers. Most of my clipper inventory is actually wall clippers because I really like the power that they produce, and they actually last a really long time. These are actually pretty close to the wall peanuts, if you guys know those.
Yeah.
But these are the heroes, so these are barber qualities. They're a lot stronger, sharp, easy to maintain. So you just look at your work, make sure that they kind of match up, and if you see anything different, you're going to go ahead and just fix it as you go. So I'm just seeing that it's a little bit heavier right along the bottom side right here.
Yeah.
I see that it's heavier as opposed to this side. So what I'm going to do to eliminate this weight, as opposed to putting a guard on there, I'm just going to cut right into the hair with an open blade and in a flicking motion.
Mario, do you ever find yourself using like the boar brushes?
Yeah, I actually do. I have those. If, for instance, I'm going to do, like, let's say a bald fade, because those little tiny hairs just don't get out of the way when you're combing it. But yeah. So now it's blended. And we just did our neckline just to right around here, right around where the ear is. Because what we're actually going to do with this haircut is we're going to do his beard and his lineup as well. Blending this in last and removing some hair from the top. Just cutting it down just a little bit. It all depends on what steps you want to go. You could leave the beard for last, you could leave this for last. It's completely up to you. You want to just manipulate the ear any way you want. Make sure that when you hit the hairline around the ear, try not to go up too high. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to guys that have gotten crappy haircuts. You'll see the hairline around the ear will go up and over. When you're hitting this hairline, you're basically just using the corner of the blade. The lineup portion, the haircut, a lineup theoretically is, straight across and then squared. Now, because his hairline in particular rounds right here, the last thing you want to do is push it all the way back to here and there, because, again, just like with the neckline, when this starts to grow out, it's not going to look very good. So you just turn his head, see where you're going to do the lineup. And again, all I'm getting is just little baby hairs. And then when you're doing the hook pattern, everybody has a different method of doing it. Start it here, right by the temple. So this is your initial guideline. Then you make your next guide right here at the bottom, right by the sideburn area, and then you just connect it. And all I'm doing is just using the corners. And then that's it. Want to make sure that these sides match up, because sometimes you'll see somebody gets a lineup and one side's higher than the other. Okay. So now the lineup's done on both sides. What we're going to do is we're going to give the Foux Howk its Foux Howk shape and cut the hair down a little bit. Again, you want to comb through the hair so that when you cut it with your clippers, or if you want to use shears, they don't get stuck. For this portion of the haircut, I'm actually switching out the metal guard and I'm putting a 000 on here, which is a really close cut. So now we're going to use a wide tooth comb, or known as a flat top comb. And what we're going to do is we're going to This is basically going to be our guard. To give it the faux hawk shape, we're going to do a technique called clip over comb. That's how we're going to cut it. All the way back. Now we're actually going to cut the hair down a bit. But I find that it's actually a lot faster and a lot easier just to do the same technique with clip over comb. But when it comes to the faux hawk,
is it better to cut it with product already in the hair?
No, he actually has product in his hair because he didn't wash it out. But no, you definitely don't want to cut with product in the hair. So basically for this portion, we're going to go right in. That's basically it. Once you finish the haircut and you put gel in it, if you see that there's some hairs that are sticking out more than others, then you could definitely cut that off. Trim the beard down, knock down the length of it a bit, and line that up. I'm going to put a 3.5 metal guard because it's still going to keep it a little dark, but it's going to be a lot shorter. So basically I'm cutting just right into the beard. Just like when it comes to hair, you definitely want to cut against the grain since this hair is growing down.
How much do you charge for a haircut, Mario?
It really depends on the service. On the area, that makes a big difference too. One of the barbershops that I worked at, this would be an $18 haircut because it's a Foux Howk, but once you incorporate the beard, it's a completely different service, so it would be 18 and 18. There's barbershops where every haircut all the way down the line is $15, but once you want me to, if you want me to line you up, that's an extra $2 and such. You're working out right now. I like it because their haircuts are $15 all the way across, whether it's a razor fade, Foux Howk. If it's something special like an all shear cut, then we would charge 20 or 25.
Which one's the hardest cut that for the style?
I think it's definitely, it would be like to each his own. You know, now one of the big haircuts that's getting popular is a razor part comb over. Have you guys seen those? So you would grow all this hair out on top, and as opposed to just parting your hair naturally, you make your part, but you razor it in. So it's a hard line part. And you comb it over, and this is usually all one size, plus you taper out the neckline. So it's 1, 2, 3 haircuts in one. So you give it a ball taper or a shadow taper if they want to keep sideburns or not. Chop the hair down on the sides, which would be a fade, and then you shear the top, and then with the razor part. That's a special haircut, so that haircut, I wouldn't charge anything under $25. It's really up to whatever the client wants. His beard in particular is going to be right along his jaw area, and then this is going to be sharp, and then this is going to be round. Now we're going to connect the beard with the original lineup that we did. And now we're just going to match the other side.
That's curly hair?
Yeah, his hair, there's different types. There's more curly, you know, bigger curls, deeper curls, coarse hair. It would, yeah, you could definitely create the same effect with any hair, because once the hair is cut short enough, it won't curl up, you know. But with the coarse hair, you would definitely cut it differently. Extremely curly hair, you definitely cut it differently. And then right now, since these chairs don't recline, I just make him lean all the way back, and then I just want to make sure that his beard line is matching up, and one side doesn't go all the way up here and then the other one goes down here. Same with the mustache. We're just going to clean it up. This is the part of the faux hawk. Yeah, you could actually shape it. You could make it a pointy faux hawk, a V faux hawk, or but he actually likes to keep it natural. But what we are going to do now is we're going to go ahead and go over the entire lineup, all the edges, his beard, and everything with the razor to make it really stand out. Always want to make sure, especially with razors, so have a very steady hand. Never, ever, ever reuse a razor at the end of every haircut. I always clean my razor with Barbicide, but since it's been sitting in my case overnight, I'm just going to go ahead and do it again. Okay. Never want to just dry shave. Although the blade may glide smoothly now, when the client gets home 30-40 minutes later and they go ahead and clean up, they will see irritation. This is just shave gel. I get this at the dollar store. It works really good. It goes on clear. Always make sure you stretch the skin.
Have you ever had any accidents with the razor?
Many times.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Nobody's perfect.
What do you do?
You pretend like it doesn't have a playing. Well, there's different, I mean, you should obviously clean it off right away, and they sell, it's a powder. It's called Nick Safe. It's basically cuticle powder, and you apply it to basically the cut with a Q-tip or a Sanex.
And it stops the bleeding.
Yes. Or if the client just doesn't realize it, you could just put a couple of hot towels in there and then it'll go away.
I was gonna say, doesn't it need
But yeah, accidents will happen, especially when you're just starting to learn how to use a straight razor.
Do this for every service?
I'm sorry?
Do you do this for every service?
Yes.
Oh, for every service?
Yes.
But you charge extra?
No.
No?
This
Too much for 15.
opinion, the reason why men go to barbershops is to kind of escape, kind of like the way women go to get their nails done. So you don't want to be in and out of a chair in 10 minutes. You want to sit down, talk to your barber, take 30 minutes, get your hair cut. So I'll try to do every haircut within 25 to 30 minutes. We're going over the neckline as well. When you're going behind the ear, this is a very tender spot. Stretch the skin as much as possible. I mean, if the pimple is right in the hairline, you know, you could cut around it or just take extra time to cut that specific area. But yeah, just try to avoid those. To remove an ingrown hair, I would say don't touch it. It's really up to the barber. Some barbers, like old school barbers, they don't care. They'll just go in there and fillet it. And then, you know, they'll tell you, okay, don't touch it for a few weeks. The barber, I'll try not to touch him, just let him know, hey dude, you got an ingrown hair, you should get that taken care of.
Some people have a lot.
Yes, they do. Some people do have a lot.
Usually happens when it's curly hair, right?
Yeah, coarse hair. Because what happens is, if you go over it with the razor, you know, when it comes back up, it's gonna curl right into the skin. So now we're gonna hit the forehead portion. I'm just trying to have fun with my hair while I have it because it's not going to be around forever. And I saved this for last because this is one of the hardest parts I think when it comes to a shave, when it comes to the mustache, because all this skin around here is really tough to stretch. So there's different ways you could approach it. As a barber, you're going to be in your client's face all the time doing clipper cuts, doing shaves, so don't worry about, kind of crossing that little line. So as you can tell, my fingers are just going to go right onto his lips, even move his nose up, whatever it takes. Anybody want to try?
How long did it take you to
Get the shaves out?
Yeah.
Shaves actually came to me pretty quickly just because I had been shaving myself with the straight razor for around 5 years before. But the first thing my instructor told me when I went into barber school, apparently I've been holding the straight razor wrong for 5 years. The body of the straight razor, right here, you put these 3 fingers on, and this is called the tang. You put your pinky on, and then your thumb basically balances it out. I was doing it with 2 fingers. So apparently I was holding it wrong the entire time. We're basically just going over everything again with the razor. And this just allows you to brush off all those tiny little hairs.
So you can use beauty product?
Yeah, same thing. Go over the neckline. And then anytime when you put a straight razor to a client's face, you have to put aftershave on. Some barbers just do it directly onto their hand. I just use the same sanding strip that came off of their neck. Just go over everything that you hit with your straight razor. Put a little gel in this hair, just so that they could see the haircut. Don't be scared, go right into the hair, massage it in.
And you
I like gel more, yeah. And again, this is just the way you're styling it for them. They're probably going to style it a lot different. They might want the Foux Howk shape, but they're going to push it sideways,
See the back side?
And that's the haircut.